Guys, I am at my limit. I really wasn't planning on making a Blue Lock video for a while, but I feel everything has just been getting worse and worse over time. I have been part of the Blue Lock fandom ever since the Ubers game ended, and my personal experience with this series has been one of the most fun experiences I've had with anime and manga. But guys, I can't take it anymore. I have never seen a fandom with such animosity, a complete disregard of all logic and reasoning, a fandom that absolutely despises the main character, treats him with such malice, wants to watch him get dragged to the depths of hell while they get beaten up with a wooden stick from your mother's kitchen. I'm talking about Isagi, by the way. For those who don't know, Blue Lock is a sports manga that follows the sport soccer. It's a very exaggerated battle shonen-y portrayal of the sport in which a bunch of high school soccer players are forced in these extreme battle royale conditions to create the best striker in the world. Not in high school, not in Japan, in the world. That's where the main character Isagi comes into the fold. This guy, to put it lightly, is fodder. He's a nobody. He's easily one of the weakest players in the group of 300 and so soccer players. And in this environment where your entire soccer career is on the line, you need to put out results or else you're just gonna get 200 pumped the fuck out of that place. For someone to be one of the worst players, this is an extreme disadvantage. Realistically, Isagi shouldn't make it far. He shouldn't be someone to look out for, yet he's able to do the impossible. We see him go to his lowest, but no matter what, he always gets up pushing forward. Always looking for another way, always growing. Growing to a point where yes, now in the manga, he's easily one of the best players in all of Blue Lock. Now this is where the problem comes in because no one understands Isagi. And I don't mean on a philosophical level, no. Down to his very core, his most bare roots, no one understands him. I'll casually be scrolling online and find the most horrid takes on Isagi, and it's not as if it's a consistent issue. It's a mindfuck of different issues people have with him that contradict what someone else has said. I'll hear Isagi's too good at soccer now and that the plot favors him and it's boring because we know he's going to win. Then I'll hear people say he's not good at soccer because he relies on his team, and people like Bachira, Nagi, Baro, they'd all destroy him in a 1v1. Everything I've heard online completely ignores everything Isagi has gone through, and not only that, completely ignores every fundamental aspect of him. I'm gonna go over the main issues I see people have with him and talk about how it's all nonsense. I've been feeling this way for a while. I kind of went over it on my previous Blue Lock video right towards the climax of the Bastard Munchen and the P.X.G match. But within the time of me making this video, the U20 World Cup just started with Blue Lock vs Nigeria. And from just one chapter, people are already complaining about the game. Why? Because Isagi at the end of the chapter pretty much stated, I figured out how to win. Or to be more accurate, no. I've transcended them. I can see it. A vision for our victory. Aside from all the jokes I've seen about this, which I personally think are pretty funny, people are really complaining that this game is boring because Isagi already figured out how to beat them. Please, just read the chapter, man. Do people just look at the pictures and make their judgment from that or something? Because no shit, he figured out how to beat them. From one chapter alone, it's clear that the Nigerian team is carried by one player. This guy. Onozai, literally being described as their shining hope as kids. It's clear that watching this game, he's taken the burden, and from the looks of it, gladly by the way, of covering the team's weak spots. And by no means is Nigeria a weak team, but they are united by Onozai. Just read the chapter, you can see this. A player passes the ball that Ryu himself calls sloppy. He's the one they rely on to score, the one they rely on to save them when things are looking desperate. He's their shining hope. Everything will be okay because he's here. He's basically Nigerian All Might. Now, understanding all this, and keep in mind, you find out a lot about the Nigerian team dynamic in one chapter. Tell me this. If you were there, how would you defeat the Nigerian team? You destroy that hope they cheerfully cling to, that they've relied on since their childhood. And to those genuinely upset he figured this out so quickly, just do the world a favor and shut the fuck up. That's literally Isagi's thing. He reads the play of the game and comes up to a logical conclusion on how to win. That's the equivalent of complaining that Nagi traps the ball too well or that Bachira dribbles past defenders. What about this is plot? Isagi realized what to do just as anyone else who's reading this chapter should also realize. He's supposed to be good at figuring this out. He's supposed to be the one figuring this out the fastest because that's Isagi's talent. We're over 310 chapters into this series. At this point, Isagi should be realizing these things because there's no way I've invested hundreds of chapters to see Isagi still be the weakest link. It's funny though, despite my personal thoughts on this, people for some reason want Isagi to fail. Look, I understand not wanting Isagi to win all the time. I get that, believe me, I don't want him to win all the time either. But to assume that he's gonna win because of plot is outrageous, because every time he does edge out a victory, the story clearly shows why it's justified. And wanting him to lose so badly it puts him in a state of despair doesn't make sense either. If you want to see all that, just go back to the earlier chapters. I'm willing to sell my left testicle that they'll lose their first game against France. So if you're one of those people who just don't want to see constant win after win, then that's understandable. It's not realistic to win every single game, especially with Isagi still growing. But shit man, to the others who for some reason have a bone to pick with this, why do you hate this man so much? Did he murder your family? Take the last slice of pizza? What did this soccer-loving fanatic do for you to hate him this much? This agenda on Isagi genuinely makes me question if most of these guys even read the manga. Now to all those who read with their eyes closed and still for some reason think Isagi is carried by his team or he wouldn't win a 1v1 with most of the Blue Lock characters, I need you to do me a favor and just open your eyes. This is the big year of 2025. Isagi isn't anywhere as weak as he was at the beginning of the series. The fact that I even need to say this blows my mind. Here's Isagi going past Bachira. Here's Isagi going past all these defenders. Here's Isagi going past Shigiri. Here's him going past Nagi. Intercepts, intercepts, intercepts. If you want to make the argument that if they had the ball, then they could easily get past Isagi, okay, cool. But you can't ignore the sheer amount of content of Isagi doing the same thing to the others. He's not the weak player who only has good eyes anymore. That just isn't good enough at this point. The level of plays these guys are at is way too high. Isagi is shown to be proficient both offensively and defensively. The only person I can agree with would beat him in a 1v1 is Rin, but that by no means knocks down Asagi's level. It's time Blue Lock fans accept that Isagi is fucking good at soccer. I know this sounds like an impossible task, but I believe that if we try hard enough to spread the word, then maybe, just maybe, we'll get to a point people aren't stuck in 2019. I don't know how this even became normal, but let's talk about this fascination with saying plot as if it's a valid argument. For some reason, people think that just by saying, oh, this is plot, suddenly they have a valid argument. Bro, this is shit we learned as children in school. Proof. You need fucking proof. How is Isagi realizing that Onozai is the one he needs to focus on? Plot. This whole argument of this is plot or not is stupid because if we're to take it at face value, then no shit it's plot. The plot is just the main events that play out in a story, so no shit the plot favors Isagi. He's the main character. What's the point of following a protagonist that is constantly getting thrashed both in skills and abilities never developing? This argument is stupid because you can apply this logic to every single popular show. Is Naruto plot because he managed to defeat all the pains by himself by learning Sage Mode, which we didn't learn about until recently? Is Goku plot because he acquired Super Saiyan before Vegeta? Is fucking Rentaro plot because he's destined to have 100 women fall in love with him? Wait a minute. You know what? I think I've just made a breakthrough. I think I finally understand Blue Lock fans. They don't treat this series as a shonen. They treat Blue Lock like it's a fucking harem. Holy shit. This is insane. But instead of wanting them to end up with another character, they've replaced that desire with just wanting to see them win. That's why this whole 1v1 debate is always talked about despite how stupid it is. They're obsessed with seeing their favorite character win, just like how a harem watcher wants to watch their favorite character get with the main character. And because Isagi is always the main focus and given the most time, we see him winning more often than anyone else. It's as if they're constantly getting slapped in the face because all they want to do is see their favorite character win. But they're always getting blue-balled by Isagi taking the spotlight. That's why I always see people glazing characters despite the series showing us they're not as good as people make them out to be. I've always wondered why people were like this, but now I understand. You can't look at this logically because no matter how you look at it, this entire situation is based on emotions. Wow, being in constant denial. A trait both harem and Blue Lock fans share. Guys, this took a lot out of me. Just look at this cat dancing for a second while I gather my bearings. Okay, back to it. You know what? For curiosity's sake, let's actually look over Isagi's games to see how much he's won. Loss, loss, won. Ooh, a tie. 1 loss, 1 loss, 1 1. So that equals up to 1 tie, 5 losses, and 10 wins. Quite the far cry from what people are making him out to be, but from looking at these results, I think I can understand why. Isagi has been on the winning team 6 times in a row as of late. Isagi's winning streak began in chapter 97 with the 3rd selection. And by the way, this chapter came out all the way back in August 2020. So this essentially means that Isagi hasn't lost in 200 plus chapters, and in real world time, he hasn't lost in 5 years, which is fucking crazy. And I do hear a lot of people's gripes with Isagi is that he always just wins. I've also heard that he doesn't struggle enough, which me personally, I don't know about, but we'll get into it. Now the question is how much of this is actually Isagi? The first game takes place in the third selection for who's gonna be in the U20 match between Japan and Blue Lock. Now I'll remind you guys, because this was a really long time ago, Isagi joins Rin and Shido's team, which I'm not gonna lie is basically a free win. These two were the very best at the time and are still basically up there till this day. The game was close, but reading it, you never felt like they were gonna lose. Isagi does end up scoring the winning goal, but this was very necessary as it introduced us to the flow state and it secured him a spot in the U20 game. For those sadists who miss Isagi struggling in the trenches, then this is the perfect game for you. Now for the U20 match, this game was beautiful. Before the Neo Egoist League, it was considered the best game in the series and Isagi was definitely important in the game, but when you have the whole Blue Lock team together, you can't say that one person carried the whole team because every player was crucial in that game. Isagi does end up scoring the winning goal again, and I did go over this in my previous video, but this was easily one of Isagi's best goals. This goal was the accumulation of everything Isagi had learned up to at that point, and anyone who says this is plot, I hope you have a lovely day. This is where we get into the main course with the Neo Egoist League. And most of the people complaining about Isagi are mainly talking about this arc. I could be wrong, but I feel like people are very narrow-minded when it comes to this arc because it went on for over 3 years. And reading it weekly definitely wouldn't help with this feeling. So there were a total of 4 games Isagi played in and won. However, I feel like people forget just how broken Isagi's team is. If I asked you to name the best players from FC Barca, you'd say Bachira and Atoya. If I asked you to name the best players of Manshine, you'd say either Nagi, Reo, and Shigiri, and so on. But my point is that there are players in the other teams that are just straight fodder. In Barca München, you have Yukimiya, one of the best dribblers in Blue Lock. You have Hiyori, arguably the best passer in all of Blue Lock. Gargomaru, easily the best goalkeeper we've seen so far in the series. Ness, a passer equal to or better than Hiyori. Corona, Raichi, Kiora, all these players are amazing. And I didn't even mention the best one of them all, Kaiser, a player a part of the new Gen 11 and one of the best strikers we've seen so far in the series, with such a powerful shot said to surpass the best player in the world, Noel Noah. This team is fucking stacked even without Isagi. However, once you put a fully formed Neo Egoist League Isagi into the mix, then this already broken team becomes unstoppable. So how much of these wins was truly Isagi? The first game against FC Barca, Isagi really didn't do anything, or I guess more accurately, his presence wasn't good enough to where you'd say he was useful. If anything, he was actively sabotaging an easy win because Isagi and Kaiser are D1 haters towards each other. Kaiser blitzes Isagi and he's clearly no match for him, and if you want to make the argument Isagi doesn't struggle enough, then hey, we just finished the whole game and he wasn't able to do anything, aside from assisting a goal. Now moving on to the Manshine game, this is where you could say Isagi locks the fuck in. He discovers Metavision, and this is where you see a lot of Isagi's feats as a really fucking good soccer player. With Metavision, he's able to amplify his skills to new heights, achieving feats people in the Blue Lock world thought was impossible, such as stealing the ball from Nagi as he's about to do his weird ass Nagi magic. However, his physicality and his ability to use Metavision constantly throughout the whole game just aren't enough to be the player he wants. Sure, he knows what he has to do, but actually doing it with the body he has right now just isn't enough, and again, he's not able to score a single goal. Isagi was definitely an important figure in this game compared to the last, but even still, I wouldn't say he was the man of the match in that game. He was definitely close, and if Kaiser wasn't hindering him any chance he got, Isagi would have scored his first goal in the Neo Egoist League. So we're already 2 games in, and this throws any comments of Isagi having it too easy in the bin. Now the Ubers match. Yeah, Isagi is just him in this game. His main hindrance, Kaiser, is being locked up for most of the game, allowing Isagi to score his first ever goal in the Neo Egoist League with the lefty shot. Now I won't lie, this one does come out of left field, pun very much intended. It's also important to mention Isagi's physicality is way better than it was before. It's clear between the Manshine game and this current game, Isagi's been training his body to be able to keep up with his Metavision compared to the last game, which I'm assuming a lot of people just forget about because I see comments saying these level of feats he shouldn't be able to perform when it's been shown these games don't happen back to back. But yeah, not much to say here. Isagi was definitely the man of the match in this game. Now for the P.X.G vs Bastard München match, this was the longest and also the biggest rollercoaster ride in all of Blue Lock. In my opinion, this is the best game that's been played in the series so far. So much happens in this game, and with it being as long as it is, lasting more than a year, shit better be fucking happening. This game was also confusing to me because all these complaints about Isagi having it too easy, or the games are too boring because we know he's gonna win, or that he's too good at soccer, or that he's carried by his team and is actually not good at soccer, all these should have been thrown in the bin the minute this game finished, because this one game alone disproves all of it. Isagi has it too easy? Are we just gonna forget about the fact that he was having a mental breakdown the minute he realized he couldn't stop Rin and he was being used by his coach to make Kaiser better? It's too boring because we know he's gonna win. Yeah, let's also talk about the fact that this game was so intense that everyone had different opinions to who was gonna win. I was hearing Rin was gonna score, I was hearing Kaiser was gonna score, I was hearing Ness was gonna score, I was hearing Ego was gonna twerk. Like, bro, see, with me, I knew Isagi was gonna win because the later chapters had been setting up for it to happen. But if you had asked me how was he gonna win, I genuinely wouldn't have been able to tell you. I could have made guesses, you know, he already passes the ball and he scores. Yeah, but that's not good enough because the game is so chaotic, this play wouldn't work anymore like it did at the beginning of the match. Never in a million years would I have guessed Ness goes fuck you to Kaiser. I've been giving you these easy ass passes, I'm a lock in now. I'm gonna give such a goated pass that if you're good enough, if you are really gonna be the best in the world, then you'll be there. And just as we see Kaiser's going towards the ball, this motherfucker reforms back into Isagi and scores the winning goal. The only reason this goal works compared to the usual Hiyori Isagi combo is that no one thought Ness was gonna do anything in the game. They deemed him as useless, especially Kaiser. Isagi's goal wasn't unreasonable because Kaiser also could have gotten that. The only difference is that Isagi was able to stay composed and play objectively and realized Ness was about to awaken. So no, this goal wasn't plot. It was the final nail in the coffin to cement Isagi's evolution throughout this arc. See, for me, whether or not I can predict overall what's going to happen isn't an issue because most stories are predictable. What's important is the journey in reaching that predictable conclusion and how that conclusion is reached. While yes, I knew or had a good feeling Isagi was going to score the final goal and win the Neo-Egoist League, the way in which he did satisfied me enough to where I didn't care that I was right. So whenever someone tells me something is predictable, I don't take that as a bad thing. It's all dependent on how it's executed to get to that point. I think I've spoken enough on the issues people have with Isagi and how most of it is unjustified. But for this last section of the video, I want to talk about why Isagi is a great character. Isagi's most important qualities are actually really inspiring. To me, Isagi is the perfect representation of change. The way Isagi grows and develops is by always changing, never being stagnant. And it was shown beautifully to us in the very beginning of the series, where Isagi has the opportunity to kick the ball at Ikaguri, securing his spot on the Blue Lock project. I feel that almost everyone would have taken it, but that's the thing, he doesn't do it for that exact reason. He came here to be the best. He recognizes that by choosing to take the easy way out, that dream he has won't be achieved because he won't change. And this character trait Isagi possesses stays consistent throughout the rest of the series. By always having an open mind and never staying stagnant, he's able to do the impossible and climb up the ranks to becoming one of the best players in all of Blue Lock. It's cool too because if you actually take a step back and look at his progression up until the Neo-Egoist League, you'd find that Isagi's knowledge of the sport has always been amazing. So it's not as if he has to learn basic skills, he gets better by simply learning more about himself, by objectively understanding his strengths and weaknesses. Every skill he acquires has always been something he's been capable of using. It's just that lack of understanding of what type of player he is what made him so weak. And this mindset of constantly changing, never staying stagnant, constantly thinking about what's the issue and looking for a solution to your problem that you know you can do. Not thinking about unnecessary stuff that would be impossible for you to do, but something you know for a fact you can do if you put in the effort. I think that's really fucking inspiring and honestly something we should all strive to be like. And this mindset doesn't apply to just soccer. This mindset can be applied to anything, to a hobby you've plateaued in or even something you've been struggling with. By taking a step back and objectively evaluating your options can go so far, and this is something I learned from Isagi. For a character to have such an amazing trait that could benefit you in your life if you just try, I for the life of me couldn't figure out why people hate him so much. But now I understand that to others, Isagi is blue balls personified, constantly stopping them from living out their harem dream of watching their favorite character succeed. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, that would be appreciated. And if you're new here, subscribing would mean a lot. I already know the chances of me being called an Isagi fanboy is at an all-time high, but hey, it is what it is. I'll continue to enjoy Blue Lock the exact same way nonetheless. But anyways, that's all I have to say for now. See ya.